Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coffee with Coaches podcast. I'm your usual host, Kevin. You've probably been hearing from me a lot lately as we're dropping episode after episode. People just love to come on the podcast. I'm having the best time in 2022 so far with it. Anyway, that's me being enthusiastic, as you well know. Today, I have with me Rose-Anne Uwague. Rose-Anne specializes in optimization and total life well-being. She works with corporations to improve talent retention, increase employee engagement, and boost productivity. She partners with high-performing business executives to both improve productivity and create sustainable lifestyles that promote wellness and mental health. So, modest goals. Rose-Anne, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
It's a pleasure sharing space with you today. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start at the start. And I phrase this a couple different ways as I think about like how someone gets their start in coaching. And I like to think of it sometimes as almost like a superhero origin story, where it's like, but also it's a process of discovery. Like most coaches I talk to, they don't necessarily set out to become a coach. They realize that they are a coach and then set out to bring that intention into action in the world, maybe start a coaching practice. So what's your superhero origin story?
I love it. So I'm definitely the latter. And I love the way you frame that question, because I used to say that, oh, I have an accidental business. It just kind of merged into something. Now I know better to say that my business has been formed organically. So to answer your question, I recognize that there were certain threads or themes where my friends kept coming to me to resolve certain issues. And then one dear friend / mentor / sister said to me, hey, I need to start a podcast with my business partner. I need you to hold me accountable. I know you're the person I need to come to hold me accountable. So suffice to say, the running joke with all my friends is don't tell Rose-Anne unless you're really serious, because she's going to make you do it. So honestly, just through a series of referrals, I started gaining clients, and slowly I formed a business, made it official, created an LLC. And then, like you said, I call myself a coach.
It's funny how it just happens. Like, I mean, obviously there's intention, there's action, there's work that goes into it. It doesn't just, you don't just wave a magic wand, but really when you found something like coaching where it's just like, oh, this is who I am. Right. It is work, but it doesn't really feel like work. It doesn't channel as work. It's something that's just like, oh, I am this. Therefore, I'm doing this, and that.
I love it.
It's not easy necessarily. But it kind of, I think you used this word earlier before I hit record, flow. There's a flow to it that just is, yeah. I could wax about that all day. However, let's bring it back to you. Let's talk about your coaching practice today. How do you like to coach? Do you have like a lot of one-to-one clients? Do you do a lot of group coaching or any sort of coursework? And then who do you like to primarily work with? Who tends to respond the best to your coaching? Who do you find yourself working with more and more in your coaching practice today?
Got it. So when I first started, it was one-on-one coaching. I would work with these mompreneurs or solopreneurs who said, hey, I have this passion project that I need to turn into profit. I need your accountability. I need strategy. I need clarity. Help me. And then I would just work one-to-one with them. And that was really good for the first 3 to 4 years because I had a full-time job. So I wanted to make sure that I maintained my own harmony by not having too much work outside of my full-time human resources job, my husband, my children, and, actually having some time for self-care. So in May last year, I said, well, what would it look like if I had that same 1 hour, but with a group? And I did a pilot program for group coaching and I loved it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the sweet spot. More impact, less time. Everybody's happy. I love it. And then an opportunity presented itself for me to go into a corporation, do a 1 hour keynote, which I liked. But the sweet spot was a small group coaching session where I met with 5 people at a time for about 45 minutes and really hammered in and delved into what their needs were, where they had mind blocks and needed shifts in their mindsets. So I've worked with executives, mompreneurs, business professionals, just really high performing executives who want more out of life. And my sweet spot is working with corporations who, a lot of them are faced with this great resignation. So how do I maintain these employees? How do I make sure that my employees are sane, right? Like mental health is a real thing right now. It's not just this trendy buzzword, it's a real thing. So how can I help these corporations to make sure the employees have work-life harmony?
I love that. I was actually talking to somebody earlier today about the Great Resignation and how
Mhm.
he likes to refer to it as the Great Awakening, which obviously
Mm,
has
of course.
historical. There have been many things called the Great Awakening in the past, but it really is an awakening to, and it is short-term pain for companies, for employers, because
Yeah.
obviously people are realizing that it's important for them to seek out what's going to make them happy and healthy, allow them
Mhm.
to thrive. And they're going to find places that help them with that journey. And there's short-term pain there, but I feel like it's really all for long-term gain. Because
Mm,
it's this quest, this seeking for, what we deserve to be happy and also a productive part of society. It doesn't just
right.
have to be, you're grinding at the desk for
Mhm.
12 hours, maybe 14 hours a day, 5, maybe 6 days a week. And then that's what success looks like. Success
Right.
looks like balance. Like we talked about before I hit record, success looks like
Mhm.
harmony, where you
There
have
you go.
these different notes of your life all coming together to make music. Not
Right.
to put it too poetically, but I really also, can you talk a little bit more about the your group coaching? Because I love the way that you described it as your sweet spot. Because a lot of
Mm,
coaches, a fair amount of coaches really like the one-on-one. They like sort of like, it's almost like meditative, where they just really drill down with the one person.
yeah.
And some coaches I talk to are really like, they excel at the keynote, where they can really like get up on a stage and they present their ideas in this organized way, and they feel like they can just sort of broadcast in a way that's really powerful.
Mhm.
And I especially gravitate towards the small group coaching, where it's like 4 to 6,
Yeah.
much more than 6, and it gets a little bit too unwieldy. You almost want to break out. Much less than 4, and it can get a little too awkward with the intimacy and with the. So,
Right.
like, what's the group coaching that you just launched recently? I love that you just did it this last year. What's that been like for you in keeping it in that small group, and how would you? Actually, maybe I should just let you talk about it, because I was going to ask like a whole bunch of follow-up questions, but maybe I'll just let you talk about what it's like for you and your group coaching.
No worries. So I'll start to share. And yes, of course, feel free to add follow-up questions. So with the keynote speaking, I know that a lot of people love it because they feel like they're motivating the masses, right? So like 1 hour, I just get 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, right? Like if you're Tony Robbins or whatever.
Yeah.
For me, what I realize is that with the conference, there's a lot of motivation that happens. There's a lot of inspiration, but there's also a lot of hype. So someone walks in, they're like, yeah, yes. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And they leave the exact same way because there was nothing for them to implement, right? So they got high off the hype, if you will, but then I don't have that access to go back and say, hey, okay, so I talked to you for an hour. What are you doing with this? Yes, I gave you homework. Are you implementing? Is this actionable? Is there something that we need to tweak? Maybe this was an off the shelf product for the 30 out of maybe the 30%, but for you, I need to find a solution that works specifically for you, right? So with the group coaching, I can say, all right, so I just gave a 10-minute spiel. Let's tailor make it to you. Let's customize it so it fits your solution, right? So if I say something like, oh, self-care is important. It's not selfish. It's mission critical. They're like, yeah, great, but who's going to watch all these kids, right? So now I can say, all right, now let's get creative. So the reason I love the group coaching is because one, you're with a community of like-minded people. So they're probably having the similar pain points or similar issues. And I can say, well, here's what may work for you, Kevin. And then someone else can jump in and Michael could say, oh, Ro, yeah, I think that's great. You know what else worked for me? So not only are you benefiting from what I've learned or from what I've learned from my other clients, but someone else in the room can speak specifically to your pain point. So I think that group coaching it's the best of both worlds because you get me tuning into your specific situation, but everyone else is now linking arms together to make sure that you win.
Yeah, it's in my head. Because my brain just makes little simple analogies out of everything. I almost feel like it's like a braided rope, how it's
Yes.
stronger because it's united in the same purpose, and like you pull taut. And I love that, like, that ability to be in a room with people who are feeling the same kind of feelings you are, which
Mm-hmm.
most of the time we're moving through life. And there's that tendency to feel like it's really, you're just kind of alone in your specific
Exactly.
pain, your specific struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And while your exact specific life is very unique to you, there are people who they're in harmony with you. They are asking themselves the same questions. They're struggling
Mm-hmm.
with the same burdens, and they're seeking for the same kinds of answers in the same way that you are. And then just being in the room with people, with someone like you as their guide, where you're there
Mm-hmm.
to hold them both accountable and also to sharpen their intention and give them things that they can
Right.
put into action. It's just like it really is the sweet spot.
Yeah, and that was my biggest issue with marketing because I would work with these experts, and I don't mean that in any tongue in cheek, like they were really experts. I would work with experts, and they would say, "Come on, Roseanne, you need to pin down your audience. You can't talk to everyone." I'm like, I know I'm not trying to talk to everyone. I don't want to talk to if you talk to everyone, then maybe you're talking to no one, right? I get that part. But my thing is, I don't want to only talk to the woman with two children who lives in New Jersey, who shops at Trader Joe's, who is 35. Maybe there's a woman who shops at Costco who has the same pain point. So for me, it was always to your point about the human experience. If we're all saying, I'm tired, I have a passion project, I need to figure out when to do it, I need to be better with my time, I need to be more productive. If we have the same pain points, then yes, now we can link arms with that braided rope analogy that you gave versus me just trying to group a bunch of people together by demographic or psychographic, and maybe they don't even have the same issues, right? Because if one has a nanny and the other one doesn't, that's already a difference.
Yeah, not all focusing is created equal, and you could very easily focus on all the wrong attributes that move all the wrong needles in all the wrong directions, and you're really not helping anybody. But if you do find what's important to focus on, and again, it's those pain points. If you find people who are asking those same kind of questions and struggling with the same kinds of pain, regardless of where they're from, what they do, where they shop,
Right.
that's where you can really braid together a powerful rope, to go back to that analogy, or link a very strong chain together. And I love that's the marketing advice is right and wrong at the same time. It's like, yes, focus is important.
There goes that duality again.
Yeah, focus is important, but on what though? Ask the right question. Don't just ask questions. Ask the right questions, and then once you have the right questions, ask the better questions. You're like, oh, okay, what's the next better question I can ask? And then the answers will just fall right out.
I agree.
I'm feeling greedy. I kind of want to just keep talking to you, but we're getting close to time. So before we go, I want to make sure that you tell the audience where people can find you, and not just find you, but engage with you. I know a lot of people have a preferred social media where they like to have their deeper conversations. Some people just, they'll post videos or whatever. So, and obviously a website like everybody has. So where can people find you and connect with you?
Okay, great question. So I'm super duper social, but I'm a little anti-social. So if you message me on Instagram, I may not reply for about a year. So you might want to find me through my email or my website. So Kevin will have to help you with the spelling. It's RoseAnneUwague.com. And my email is ignite@RoseAnneUwague.com. My website is just RoseAnneUwague.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well. I actually do respond to my LinkedIn messages.
Yeah, I find that my DMs I just ignore them on every other social platform, but on LinkedIn, I check them on almost on the daily.
It's so much better, and that's exactly how I met Michael. So yeah, I feel like it's real connections. It's not superficial. It's not artificial. It's something is going to come out of this.
Yeah. It really before we go, it really has grown as like a relationship building platform. I used to dismiss LinkedIn as like resume on steroids, maybe, something like that. And actually, of course, before we got on, I scrolled through your LinkedIn, and I like how, like, you've done some really good stuff with your LinkedIn. Like, it feels very inviting. Like, I love how you've done your about section. Like, it's clicked on more, and I was like, oh, this is very beautifully formatted. I like everything I'd want to know about you was there. Like, in a really like I was very impressed.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, I'll stop blowing smoke up your butt and tell everybody to check out RoseAnne. Find her on LinkedIn, find her on our website. We'll have all the links on the page, podcast description, show notes, wherever you find that stuff, that's where it'll be. RoseAnne, thank you so much for being here. This has been really fun.
It was so good. Thank you so much.
And thank you to the audience for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.